Chapter 3 of Jojolands is out, and this chapter is more of a build-up chapter. It doesn't really go into any serious action, it is just setting up the action for the next chapter. But that doesn't mean that nothing interesting is going on here. There's actually quite a lot to unpack from this chapter, so let's have a look. We pick up right where we left off with the home invasion of Rohan's mansion, and Jojo has a really close encounter with Rohan, and he has to tuck himself away behind a chair. And then he spots a manuscript from Rohan. This is kind of like an homage to Rohan's first introduction in part 4, the first continuity, where Koichi kind of got a peek at Rohan's work, and it's Pink Dark Boy. So if you don't remember, Pink Dark Boy is the manga that Heaven's Door's physical body is based off of in part 4. Every time Rohan summons Heaven's Door, he draws Pink Dark Boy. So when we get a peek of this universe's Pink Dark Boy, first off, he's aged up, he's really tall, and he has the hat from the Rohan OVA. So with that being said, this Rohan doesn't use Heaven's Door in this chapter, but if he does use Heaven's Door, it's possible it might just look like this version. I really want Heaven's Door to look like this. I think it would be pretty funny. While meanwhile, Dragona uses his stand smooth operators to kinda crack open doors and whatnot. They see all this fancy stuff that Rohan owns, and they really just want to pocket all of it. But Dragona says, we don't have time for that, and it'll make us look suspicious if we have to lug all that onto the airport. So it seems that Dragona is kind of the one reeling them in. He's the level-headed one of the group. But as they're going and searching through his house, this weird cat creature with rabbit ears passes by, and this creature is brought up a number of times throughout the chapter. It's kind of the mystery of this chapter. And after a little bit of searching, they manage to stumble into what can only be described as a laboratory. There are a bunch of vials everywhere, and curiously, there are rocks everywhere, as well as a map of a volcano. And I think that this map probably has the most significance out of anything in this chapter, because whenever you see a map in a story, you're gonna go there, right? Chekhov's gun. You don't just put something like a map into a story unless you're going to explore the location. So I think that this is kind of foreshadowing the direction of Jojolands. For whatever reason, the group is probably going to follow this map and see what's up with the volcano. And if nothing else, we already understand that in this continuity there are all these sacred locations, like the Devil's Palm or the mountains, and we can kind of just assume that there is going to be some greater significance to this volcano. The group kind of ponders why Rohan would have this map, as well as what all of these rocks are, and Usagi speculates that the rocks are cooled lava. And I think that all of these rocks are important because we already have this connection to rocks from part 8. You know, the rock people, the rock disease, all the rock stuff. So Jojo notices that Rohan has a dog, and he actually gushes over the dog. He gets all like childlike and giddy. But then he notices the cat, and the cat seems to draw the attention of both him and Rohan starts to make way for the house. But because the main group isn't finished, Jojo needs to buy time. So he uses November rain to create rain outside, and Rohan, being the kind of curious guy he is, he goes outside to have a look, because why is it raining? But Rohan seems to have this kind of understanding that there are other people here, or at least that something unusual is happening. And that might be because this cat is a stand user. This cat has a stand, kind of like Stone Free, that wraps this plastic string around people. They described it as kind of like a fishing line, and they all realize that, yeah, that's a stand. Then we get to this last page where Rohan addresses this cat as a stray cat. Maybe this is a connection to the stray cat from part 4, but regardless, I think it's very interesting that a cat was chosen for this, because Araki said in the past in interviews that he views cats as a lot more devious than dogs, and he usually would only want a cat to be owned by a villain, which is why we see a cat-like creature with Dio and later teamed up with Hira, whereas we see the dogs teamed up with the heroes more often. So finally, Jojo messages the group and he says, yeah, this guy can see stands, we're in trouble. And we get the famous "to be continued." So that's the end of the chapter. It's kind of a short one, kind of just to build up, but it also creates a number of neat character moments. We get more quirky Usagi moments. We get to see Dragona being a good leader. We get to see Jodio being a team player, and we also get to see this kind of sympathetic side, this animal loving side that we kind of haven't seen from him yet. Just a little more pleasantness from him. And of course, we have that map. So we're building up to, the main plot. We're building up to what they're going to be doing in this story. So I think that overall, this was a pretty fascinating chapter. Was there anything crazy in it? Not really. But now that Rohan's alerted, I think that things are about to get pretty wild next month. So I hope you enjoyed the review. If you have any theories for what's going to happen next, feel free to drop a comment. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.